So we are live, and today I'm chatting with Anthony Rose from Seedlegals, which is an amazing platform. I've used it myself, and it helps startups and investors to complete the legals that they need to build their business. Welcome, Anthony. Do tell us a little bit about Seedlegals and how you came up with the idea to set it up.
So hello. So Seedlegals is a one-stop platform to go to build and grow your business, specifically around funding. But if you're closing a funding round or building your team, you can do team agreements, share option schemes. So the idea is that instead of paying lawyers, there's now a SaaS, a one-off pricing platform for that. So how did we come up with the idea? Well, I'm not a lawyer. I'm the tech product guy in the relationship. So I used to head up BBC iPlayer years ago. After I left the BBC, I built a startup, sold it, built another startup, sold it, invested in a few, met my business partner at a party. He's Laurent Laffy, ex-VC, serial angel investor. And we decided to go and change all of the needing to go find a lawyer. So Seedlegals has been growing very nicely. We're now 70 people. We think about 1 in 6 of all early stage UK funding rounds and share option schemes happens on Seedlegals. Yes, that's us.
That's quite incredible, isn't it? 1 in 6 and 70 people. And we were chatting earlier, and you were saying that this service is available for people in the UK and France. Is that right?
That's right. So we're in UK, France, and Ireland, and there'll be more countries by the end of the year.
I love that you met your business partner at a party. I met my first business partner. I sort of knew him very vaguely, but we met at an awards ceremony. We were sitting next to each other, and we both had a few drinks, and we literally decided to set up a business there and then. And the rest was history. So I always think it's fun. You just don't know, do you, where you're going to meet? You don't know where you're going to meet your next co-founder, or the opportunities to meet people are incredible.
And I think, by the way, that's one of the challenges with COVID, because a lot of this is serendipity, and serendipity disappears when you have to do Outlook scheduled Zoom calls as opposed to just being at an event. And most online or most startup events, of course, have moved online. So pitch events and so on. But the problem is when you went to WeWork and drank warm beer and schmoozed, you met all sorts of other people. You met other founders and so on. Whereas now when you do a pitch event, nobody meets each other. Everybody meets the 3 people that are, they're pitching to. And so there is a loss there, and you have to work super hard to get around that, which, of course, some of these items we might be discussing in the next few minutes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can see that I'm helping one of my clients raise funding at the moment. And obviously, it's just so different, isn't it, when you're just trying to do everything over Zoom and you can't. It's building. I always say, whatever you're doing, it's all about relationships, building the know, like, and trust factor. And I think you can do that over Zoom, obviously, but it does make it a bit more challenging. So you came up with this idea for Seedlegals. You're obviously, massive, very experienced in the tech space. Why do you think that Seedlegals is much needed? I mean, it's obviously totally taken off, hasn't it? Why is that? Why is it much needed?
Well, it's a good point. So I think the many services we use, of course, have moved to SaaS platforms. You no longer buy a huge pile of Cisco servers and stick them in the basement. This is all on AWS. And instead of spending £10,000 or £100,000 on servers, you give AWS a small amount of money each month. And you're used to pretty much everything you do is now a SaaS platform online, except for legals, where you have to travel to Holborn, and there's some company that's been doing it this way since the time of Elizabeth I, and that needed to change. So when we started, people went, well, funding rounds, everything's bespoke, it's all unique. But actually, that's the wrong approach. It's like saying that you want a new suit, you have to go to Carnaby Street to have one made. 0 people go to Carnaby Street to have one made. You all go to buy off the shelf. So the idea actually is to, what I love to do for my business is think, what would a law firm do? And then do totally the opposite. And a lot of legal tech companies are started by disaffected lawyers who create technology, in my view, to make being a law firm more efficient or make their lives easier. My goal is, as a tech product guy, to create something that solves a problem that you have. And it turns out that the legal part of it is only a small part of it. Let's say you say, I want to find investment for my business. What do I need to do? So the things you need are, how do I find investors? What deal terms are good? Am I the only schmuck in the room agreeing to give an investor director position on my board, or is it totally standard? So you need data. And then you want to talk to a human. You don't want to book a call next Wednesday and make a phone call. You want instant web chat. And then you want to be able to log in and e-sign. And actually, at the end of it, you also need a shareholders agreement and articles. So I think when you define the problem as solving some task that a customer has, then the legals is a part of it, maybe even a large part of it, but it's not the be all and end all. And one more thing, which is what I love, is round one on Seedlegals is to just be utility, not get ahead of ourselves. We don't mention blockchain and DeFi and also, no, you want to do a funding round or something, we'll help you do it. But I think what's fascinating is, having, in a sense, solved that, you can now redefine the playing field to be something that you can uniquely do. So my first goal was to help you do a funding round. And my next goal is to help you not do a funding round, because doing a funding round is almost a failure to not do a funding round. What's a funding round? Every 12 to 18 months, you have to get really stressed and raise lots of money to last you another 12 to 18 months, giving away lots of equity at today's valuation instead of tomorrow's valuation. And if you fail to do it again, the company's out of business. But what if you could raise in an agile way? What if you could meet somebody and you go, hey, on a Sunday night, can I send you a seed fast for 20K? And I'm in. So can you create agile fundraising? And there you can use platform automation to do what the incumbents, the older way of doing things, could just never do, because you can remove the transaction element from a huge amount of cost and time into Sunday night, hop into Seedlegals, here's your document, bam, get a browser notification when it's signed, do the next one.
I've been the recipient of one of those. I remember being quite confused at the beginning because I've invested, well, me and my husband have invested in various businesses that use Seedlegals, and I remember thinking, how can I just sort of give them money in advance? And how do I know what shares I'm getting? And like suddenly you say, yeah, I'm happy to commit, and then, as you said, the next day you get an email and you go in and you sign something and it's all done. And honestly, that is quite incredible, and it must be such a relief. I mean, I know how. I secured funding on Dragon's Den, so it's slightly different. And then obviously I've helped my clients secure funding. And I know it's kind of a really stressful time. It can take a long time. And I suppose what you're doing is taking away a big chunk of that stress, aren't you? Because you're allowing people to get funding in chunks. I think also the content that you provide on your platform is incredible. You're not just providing the sort of the legal side, because I've been on the platform and you can go and download a list of all the VC businesses or angel investors or something like that. And so actually any startup, it's a great resource for them, and there's a huge amount of value before they even get to the point that they need funding.
Yeah, well, thank you. And the motivation behind it, I should say, is in my, what would a law firm do? I'm going to do totally the opposite. So a law firm, they're humans who have to charge for their time. But because we built a platform, our goal is we'll put unbounded CapEx to solve a problem in a one-click way, scalably for everyone afterwards. So what happens is, whenever people ask us a question, what a law firm would do is they go, we'll charge you whatever number of £100 an hour to give you an answer to that question. What we do is, by the third time someone asks us a question, we task one of our legal team to work out the definitive answer for it. Then we write an article which is free for the world, and then we'll, if necessary, build that as a product on the platform so that it's a one-click for everyone else. And then, where appropriate, you put that in your SaaS monthly plan. So I like the concept of doing this, because in a sense, this is how software eats the world. And instead of humanity doing the same thing again and again, it's like, dude, you only need to solve this problem once. Write an article, people will find it, Google will help people find it, and then that problem is now solved, and it's a one-click solution. And so if I can provide people these building blocks that help them run their companies more efficiently, and of course, obviously in our case, there's a business goal for it, then that's a nice win-win all around.
It's amazing. And actually, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, and you keep talking about how you want to be the opposite to the law firm. So I was going to ask you, how do you differentiate yourself? And I've noticed your branding. I mean, like when I first saw your branding, I thought, gosh, it looked like a sort of, I don't know, like a retro cartoon or something. I don't even know if that's the way to describe it, but I thought, gosh, this is quite weird for a legal company to be. But that's the thing, isn't it? It really stands out. So that was obviously a decision that you made around your branding. And
Yes, and I think law firms are obviously becoming technically savvy, and there's a new breed of legal tech companies and so on. But I'm amused because in pretty much every case they are started, as I said, by sort of disaffected lawyers, but all their content reflects that. And I think the challenge is when you go to a lawyer, they'll tell you 12 things you could do with a risk analysis of each. And my goal is to tell you, using data and what's market, the one thing that you should do. And whenever I go and Google solutions and find someone's articles on it, I'm left at the end of it going, this is deeply unsatisfying. They've told me 27 things, all of which have risks associated, and I'm better informed, but no wiser. And so my goal is for our articles to talk in the same language, because I'm a founder myself. What would I want? In plain English, you've got a problem and this is the solution. And by the way, if the solution needs a contract, push this button and here we'll make one for you.
I think that's really important. We've got Alistair saying he's really enjoying this. That's great, Alistair. I think that's really important, isn't it, to talk to your customer in their language? And I know, okay, I occasionally go back to sort of talking about customer acquisition and things like that. But of course, my clients don't talk about customer acquisition. They just talk about getting new clients or winning new clients. And I think one of the things that we need to be really important, what we need to be really mindful of, is talking to customers in a language that they understand, that's simple. And that definitely comes across in your content, because as you said, I think often you can read legal stuff and A, you get totally lost and overwhelmed and confused, and B, quite frankly, it's boring. So
we all wake up thinking about Section 291 of the Companies Act 2006 and how that will solve a particular problem. Yes.
Oh, brilliant. So I'm interested to know, obviously, because of what I do, which is helping people grow their businesses, and you're essentially doing that in another way. How do you get new customers? What do you find to be the best sort of strategy or channel for you to acquire new customers to Seedlegals?
So that's a great point. And I think, my goal is always to use what I found is the most effective is content marketing. So, of course, if you need to, you can pay per click or buy traffic. But my goal, as should anyone's goal, be to not do that. So if you can acquire organically, and I think there are two parts. Number one is content marketing. So whether it be, a discussion like this or writing articles, my weekend goal is to write an article on which is the right share option scheme for your team. So if we can take the knowledge we've got and make it freely available, then that becomes a content magnet. And my marketing growth team are delighted to tell me that our articles on SEIS Advanced Assurance rank above HMRC's for many searches. Like, yes,
amazing,
win.
Yay!
So free content. Of course, free content works if you've got some platform that can monetize it afterwards. But if you do have that, then you can have a selection of articles that might be, on one hand, thought leadership. They might be solutions to common problems. And I really, and I'm going on about this slightly, because I think for an early stage company, people often undervalue content marketing. So they have a website that says, let's say they make muffins or something. So they'll have a website where you can buy muffins or muffin recipes or whatever it might be, which is great. But imagine they had a whole lot of articles on the history of muffins and how people in Illinois made muffins, and these people in the muffin variants, and the evolution of muffins, the machinery for making muffins. All of this would, number one, get a lot more traffic as people search for other things. Number two, show people who are coming to their site that these people are thought leaders. They know about this in an intellectual way as well as just making muffins. And number three, there's a great deal of content that keeps you enthused browsing the site and may lead you to want to come back later. So I think this is a huge missed opportunity for companies. So content marketing, which these days is of course articles on how to do things, it's webinars, it's events, it's workshops for startups. All of these, for us are important. And I must say also for me personally, I've been around for a while and I love being able, to help share experiences so other people get to go faster and don't make the mistakes that I've done over the years. I think the other thing clearly is the network effect. So if you can have your customers love what you're doing and tell their friends, in our case, one of the clear network effects is if someone uses our site to raise investment, then there are investors on the site. And if investors like the product, then they will tell their friends or tell their next investment. And this, by the way, for me, was one of the big unknowns when we started Seedlegals. I'd been around long enough, and my business partner had, that we had a reasonably strong idea that founders would see the same pain point we had and would want to use our platform. But I had no idea if investors might refuse to use it, or they might say, we need bespoke terms. We could never create some sort of mechanization that would reflect every deal. Or they might insist that the company uses a law firm. So that was our big unknown. And so we were delighted when not only did investors accept it, but they began to message me going, hey, Anthony, the last round I did was a breeze. And that founder, what happened is, actually one investor pinged me and said, I was investing in a CBD cannabis, company. So not the founder who was hugely astute on fintech liquidation preferences. He knew his market, but wasn't funding. And the investor pinged me and said, I'm writing to you because I want to know what the secret was. I kept asking the founder complicated questions. And about 5 minutes later, he knew the answer. And then about 5 minutes after that, all the deal documents were updated. And eventually I pinged him and said, who is your muse? How do you know all this funding stuff? And he went, no, I'm on Seedlegals. So I need to, can you do a demo to show me what the way it works? So, if you can exploit some sort of organic viral effect there, then that is the next step in the traction evolution.
I think that's so true, isn't it? Referrals, because we were talking about this, but someone knows, likes and trusts you or your business or your brand, and they recommend you. It's kind of like a done deal. You don't even have to sell yourself. So if you've now got the buy-in from the founders and then the investors, and then if the investors are finding it a really simple platform, they're going to recommend it in the future. And actually, I think you sent an email, not you. I don't know if it came from you, but Seedlegal sent an email. I think I got it this morning, and it was saying something along the lines. I just saw it quickly about how it's such, Seedlegals is such a great platform because founders are just getting their money quicker, and everyone needs their money. They need it for growth, and they need it to continue what they're doing. And Seedlegals is allowing that process to become a lot quicker. And that's obviously a massive plus, isn't it, for both the investors and the founders of the business.
Exactly. And so my goal is to give founders the tools that they need, because realistically, when you start a funding round, you don't know how it's going to pan out. Are you going to be able to raise the 300K you want, or will you find that one person wants to give you 20K tomorrow, and you actually need the 20K tomorrow? You don't need 300 tomorrow, but you need to go and pay some developers or whatever it is. So can you change tack to adapt to the investor interest you're getting? And previously you couldn't. You'd have spent thousands on the legals for a funding round and you're locked on that. Whereas here you can go, actually, let me go that way instead. Or, oh, that didn't come through, let me go that way instead. And that, I think, is one of the key things to not so much tell people what they should do, but to give them the tools to be able to adapt to different situations.
Amazing. Well, Anthony, I like to keep these short and sweet. We're coming up to 20 minutes. I just wanted to say thank you so much. Anthony and I are going to be on Clubhouse. We are going to be in the Scale Up room talking all things Scale Up. The Scale Up room is on Clubhouse at 12:30 every Thursday. Anthony, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love Seedlegals. I love what you're doing. And it's been great to have you as part of today's LinkedIn Live.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I've loved our discussion. Thanks.
Fab.